Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology. And what a morning it has been. Today, of course, is our AstroInklings for the month of November. So writing next to me today is Tam Veilleux of the Energy Almanac and Choose Big Change. Hello, Tam. It is good to see you.
Janet, it's been a day already. What time is it? 11 a.m.? Oh,
It's 8 a.m. my time, and I've already lived a whole freaking day in the day.
it's been like a week. What's going on? We have to talk about November astrology because something's in the air.
It's what did occur to me yesterday, or I don't know what day it was. Maybe it was even Monday or Tuesday, I don't know. That we've been in the shadow of Mercury retrograde.
We absolutely have been, and here we go again.
And so the shadow, of course, is usually the wonkiest time for me. I don't know about you, but I have Mercury retrograde by birth. So for me, the retrograde itself is a good time. But the pre-retrograde and the post-retrograde are, they just drive me, I don't know, insane is a word I could use. So, of course, I totally had forgotten that until I was putting together the November information because Mercury retrogrades this month. And, we have that plus planets this month for November changing places all over the place. Like there is
you can't see it really, can you?
No, but you know what?
It is so full.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to bring it up. Let me see if I can share my screen. There's nothing to show here. Oh, how swell is that?
Hold on. Those crazy fluorescent lights do wild things. All right, that's better.
That whole thing that I did, Tam, is not showing.
Okay, well.
Let me see if I can open it up one more time. And make it bigger.
There is so much going on. There's 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9 days. No. Yeah, 9 days really with nothing in it. Everything else, there's something going on.
Can you see my screen?
It's coming, but it's like molasses. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah. And so, you can see that it is a crazy kind of month. It's like 2 of those weeks are jam-packed. Another week is, 3 of the 4 weeks are jam-packed. There's just 1 week where we get a little bit of a breather. And in that case, I'm feeling like, oh, yay, we, can catch up a little bit from all of the other stuff that's been happening. And, this time is just crazy, I think, for all of us in trying to weather the storms. I mean,
that's a very interesting play on words, weather the storms, because Janet's in this extreme weather with tarps flying, and we've got this Hurricane Melissa going on. Janet and I have spent so much time together in October doing videos, having important meetings about the Energy Almanac, and there's just so much wonky energy. It's been so clunky. Sometimes I can't get on because of internet, and she can't get on, and she's got her awning flying in all directions. And now today for this phone call, our video call, she named herself Jane. Look, with Jane.
Oh no, it's Janet. You can't see the T.
I know, but it's kind of funny.
That's funny. That is so funny, Tam. Oh Lordy. And probably if I made this thing bigger, which I'm loath to touch it because I'm afraid of what I might do to it. So anyway, it's been crazy. And I have a feeling, I was thinking about this morning as I was doing my hair, that it could be Uranus in retrograde.
Right.
And at the very beginning of Gemini, right? He's at 0 degrees of Gemini right now.
Fair enough.
And,
that makes sense.
Ready to step backward into Taurus. So maybe it's that even, right? Technology, innovation, all upside down.
100%. I think that's fair. Before we just jump into everything that's going on, we've got already a nice group of people in the chat saying hello and good morning to all of us. Very nice.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah. And it's good to see you today. As Monday, I wasn't able to come on air because, I can't even enumerate all the reasons why Monday was going sideways. One of which was the internet, my printer, my laptop. The power had gone out on Saturday night, so I didn't realize that it had, played havoc with my technology. Ay, ay, ay. By the
I
time I got it squared away, it was already 8 o'clock.
it's crazy. And I will tell you, like earlier this morning, well, first of all, I got bit by a tick yesterday, and then I woke up with a second one embedded, and the spider bit me all in a 3-inch triangle on my upper arm. My upper arm is like hot, hot, hot. Like, how weird that would all happen in a 24-hour span. But then I just went out to breakfast with my daughter, and I come out of the restaurant and I completely almost passed out. She had to grab me and sit me in the car. And I could feel all the pressure in my head. I'm like, what is going on? Things are so funny.
Yep, indeed. So as we dive into November, which is the whole purpose of our chat this morning, it has a theme, and I really kind of love this theme for the month. It's creation through revelation. And November's this month of deep creative awakening. When we take the sum total of everything that we'll share, we can't even share it all with you this morning. We'd be here for hours. It's a bridge between clarity of truth and the courage to act upon what it is that we are discovering. And that makes, this a very interesting month, I believe. And it's not like this all the time in November. So it is kind of interesting. And it begins with this clarion call for truth and alignment. And hopefully, what has felt uncertain through the month of October will kind of land and feel a little bit more solid, even if we end up beginning the month sort of in a Mercury retrograde, which does slow things down a bit. Hopefully, we have done the mental preparing. And hopefully we have got the refinement and the spiritual preparing for what comes in November.
When I was looking at the November events, astro events, I was feeling this like truth telling season again here, and that's what I was looking at. So
yeah, I agree, because the Sagittarius starts to get some focus.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Sagittarius being a completely different, if we've been revealing and digging up the dirt, if you will, through the Scorpio transit,
right,
then as we start to make that move, some of the inner planets moving off into Sagittarius, we begin to, connect the dots, if you will, like what did we get exposed versus what is the truth and all of that.
Yeah, and recalculating and a recalibration of the truth is kind of what I thought.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we start out the month of November with the sun from October 31st until November 4th in the gate of truth. In human design, the gate 44 is where we end up starting the month. And it's a very clarifying influence that we get into, urging us to discern the patterns from our past and see what still holds value. And this gate really sharpens our instinctive awareness. It sits in the spleen center of our human designs and helps us recognize the truth from illusion, both for ourselves, but also for the things that are going on in the outer world around us. And then the earth plays the role of blessings. She is going to be in the gate 24. And then we're asked here, in quantum human design, it's called the gate of blessings. In traditional human design, it was called the gate of rationalization. So it does really point us to the fact this gate that the earth is grounding has a lot of mental energy associated with it. And it's about the mental loops that we get into, right? It's very easy when you've had a day like I had yesterday to lay in bed at night and just go through all of the things, looping it over and over. And, why is the universe pooping on me right now, and blah, 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 and going round and round, those mental loops. And we've got to ask ourselves whether those loops, those thoughts, those repetitive thoughts, are they leading us toward renewal, or are they keeping us in some kind of looping madness, if you will, psychosis almost of this you know, trying to solve problems from the level at which they were created, which never works. Never works.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
That never works. All of that was just the human design up through November 5,
Yeah. Up through the 4th.
4th.
So,
Wow,
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, and that's kind of, when you see something that powerful starting out the month,
Yeah,
you pay attention. Not
sure.
only that, it's also an ending, Tam, because this is the ending gate of the spleen center where fear has held sway since the last week of September.
Wow.
And the fear here in this gate would be that the past is repeating itself,
Ooh,
and that we're powerless to change the
oh,
story,
that's a
which of course
valid
isn't
fear
true.
right now. Really,
Yeah.
that's a valid fear. Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, there's that. And the other thing that I think is so fascinating is that on the same day, pretty much as we start that new week, we end up with a node shift. Now, node shifts only happen in human design because we do have node shifts in astrology, but they are longer periods of time.
Yeah.
The lunar nodes shift in human design about every 2.5 to 3 months, right? That we're shifting. And what's happening is the nodes right now are shifting out of this emotional refinement time that we've had into a more mental revelation time. And as we move into November, then those nodes are continuing their journey still in Pisces and Virgo, North Node Pisces, South Node in Virgo. But now they're opening a new chapter. So if the passage of the nodes, let's say, is a book, and the book is the Pisces Virgo transits of the nodes, this is a new chapter within that book, within that story. And in the human design lens, the North Node, destiny, moves us into curiosity. And
Mm.
the South Node moves us into divine transference, where, we're receiving messages or maybe looking back at messages that we've received already. So the tone is shifting in terms of the um, destiny past relationships that we have, where, the gate of questioning with wonder begins to impact us, where it invites us to live in the question rather than chasing the answer, right? Ask the question, wait for the answer, as opposed to chasing after those answers. And this is the energy of the seeker, the mystic. I love this energy of this particular gate. And, the question that we might all be asking ourselves is, what if there was another way,
Mm.
right? What if there's another way to deal with technology when it fouls up? What if there's another way to deal with frustration when life throws you lemons?
Mm.
Now, the South Node moving into divine transference, however, changes things a bit because this is a Virgo gate. And it's a gate that often brings confusion before clarity,
Mm.
where, things drop in, but without the manual that teaches you how to use it. It represents those downloads
Mm.
and the cloud of the whole, like, what do I do with this? What is, right now I'm feeling this energy actually as I think about it, because so many different things are dropping in, and how do you manage them all? So this is also a time where the possibilities and the cloud, if you will, is preceding revelation. So we're seeing this theme right from the start of the month, where we can maybe experience this influx of new ideas, um, and they don't quite make sense yet. What are we meant to do with these ideas? And just have to trust the process, that the epiphany will come, right? That the revelation will come. The old mental loops are dissolving. And in this case, we can sit with the mystery of all of this as opposed to trying to force solutions. And, maybe there's a call for more spiritual inquiry, asking the questions. What is this? What is the meaning of this for me? Contemplation, maybe even, and creative imagination as pathways to truth, because truth is the week's energy. So the invitation is for us to release over analysis, get out of the analysis paralysis, if you will. Follow the wonder, the awe, the I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. kind of energy. You're not being asked to solve the question of what is life? What's the meaning of life? You're being asked to witness it as it gets revealed to you. Does all that sound interesting?
It's a lot. And please tell me that's not all just the first week of November?
It's the first week of November. And
Oh,
this one particularly is from what is that, November 3rd until December 22nd. So
okay.
this isn't intense as in, oh, it's all this one day. This is
Got
actually playing out over a period of
through
time
through December. Wow.
through December 22nd. And then we'll experience another shift where we open another chapter in that destiny of Pisces and the South Node in Virgo. Um, but I just found it to be the theme setter, I think, for the month of November.
So I want to like that was a big mouthful for me. I was trying to follow you and see you guys. I'm always learning from my dear friend Janet. Can you put that into like a sentence of the essence of this gate through December?
Um, I would say that maybe the essence of this is to be curious and
Stay curious.
don't get caught up in
Awesome.
the mental loops that keep you caught up in the past, right? That all things are possible,
Oh yeah.
right?
Okay.
All things are possible. Even if there's confusion, it's okay. Just it will
That's
settle.
That is beautiful, and that is exactly what I needed to hear. So that's good. That's through November into Christmas time. Like, what a gift, right? Stay
Yeah.
curious.
Stay curious and don't worry about trying to solve things because they will solve in their own time, right?
Everything's unfolding as it should. Let's get
Yeah.
into the full moon on the 5th.
Well, before we get into the full moon, there is another big shift happening just the day after the nodes shift. And this is one that, we experience this. Mars is the planet that I'm speaking of. He spends between 6 and 8 weeks in a sign. But because of his retrograde this past year, we're just kind of seeing the action really start to ramp up, and he's moving into Sagittarius from the sign of Scorpio. So we are going from this precision that Mars has in action when he's in Scorpio, because he's the ruler there, to propulsion, which is what happens when the god of action and the catalyst energy moves into a sign like Sagittarius. So in October, our actions were needing to be more strategic, and even before that, even in September, where strategy and the plan were the things that we needed to be aware of, and then the emotional ties that come with that when any planet is moving through Scorpio. And Mars in Scorpio was like the scuba diver, going deep, going all the way in, unearthing truth, cutting through illusion, perhaps, and confronting hidden power dynamics. It's intense when Mars is in Scorpio, and investigative energy is present. And sometimes we even get obsessive about digging in and getting to those answers. But now, as Mars kind of moves forward into Sagittarius for November, the energy lightens somewhat, widens, and lifts. Instead of probing the depths, now we're looking at the chasing of horizons. We're looking more broadly. So we go from the deep, we go to the horizon. And Mars in Sagittarius is kind of acting on belief, not fear,
Right.
right? Scorpio energies kind of hold some of that fear. Sagittarius is the adventurer, the challenger that goes on out and looks for the new horizons. And maybe with a renewed sense of purpose, maybe having dug through and done some investigative work, we now see a path forward in how we make our next moves. Maybe we're going to feel a little restless.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll feel inspired to aim for something bigger, a quest, maybe, a truth that we're on the hunt for, or a vision that calls you to spirit or calls you from your spirit. So the tone for November with Mars, anyway, becomes move toward what inspires you. We have fire energy with a fire planet, and that's always about creative inspiration. And, letting that curiosity of the nodal shift um, guide your choices. guide you to, move through without fear.
When I was looking at Mars entering Sag, one of the notes that I made was that I expect it to be noisy. Mars in Sag is a lot of talk. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, Janet, I am a Mars conjunct my ascendant in Sag. So this one really hits home with me. I am restless. I move a lot, and I'm definitely an action taker when I'm inspired, like I can just go. This really hits home for me. I just expect it to be, I don't know, restless is probably a really good word to explain this
Yeah.
Mars and Sag feeling.
Yeah. And, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that there's a lot of possibilities.
A lot of possibilities.
And sorting through them can be difficult with Mars and Sag that just wants to take it all in and do it all.
Of course. Yeah.
If you're a manifesting generator, you likely are going to have an easier time of it.
That's
But
me.
if you're a generator like me, I need that straight line, keep me going within the, lanes. It's hard. It's hard because so much is coming at you at one time. So I guess
Miss Stell has Mars and Sag in her 8th house in her natal chart.
Lots of emotional, transformational types of energies going on.
Wow.
Yeah. Sagittarius would also, seem to say, look at your beliefs.
Yes.
Because sometimes, self-righteousness comes up a lot with Sagittarius, right? They carry this banner of their belief.
Absolutely.
And if you combine that with someone that has a defined ajna, then you get this like concretized thinking that, doesn't allow for open-mindedness. So we have to watch that we're not bumping up against closed-mindedness and self-righteousness during this period of time as well, right?
So we're going to remind her, as you said earlier, to live in the question, right?
Live in the question, live in the wonder. Yeah.
Great.
Now we can go to the full moon, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and hope and pray.
I'm watching the clock, you know me, and there's so much to cover, and I'm like, oh boy, we're never going to get to all of it.
We never do. And, partly that's just because, right, there is so much in any given month. But now let's take a look at the full moon chart.
Yeah.
There we go. Woo. It's a super moon, another one.
Yeah.
Which means that it's more powerful because it comes within 90% of the closest approach to Earth that it makes. And this happens a couple of times a year. And that just means that the tides are higher. Our bodies are responding with more pressure, emotion, and that type of thing. So take it away, Tam. What do you see in this moon?
I see plenty. It's particularly around. I'm just like getting right down to the coaching of it right now. But what you see is the trine, which is really obvious, and another yod, and a kite. And I think there's a kite.
I nixed the kite because some of the pieces of the kite are not things we really consider in a chart of an event, like the vertex, right, is part of that. And yet, if it's a personal chart, and for all of us, we all have, this playing out in our chart somewhere, then it can be super active. But I think the water trine kind of by far and away takes this, to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And it's interesting in human design to watch what's happening here too, because this full moon is actually happening in the gate of allowing, which is a very receptive gate where we have to open up our hearts. We have to open up to receive, whether it's insight or abundance from the universe. And then we also have, look at the planets that make up the trine, Jupiter in Cancer. And we have the black moon Lilith in Scorpio. And then the Saturn and Neptune, for all intents and purposes, in a conjunction in Pisces. So we have, the water holds memory. It holds our intuition and our connection to one another. So it's a it's a profound kind of thing to find happening when you have the moon in an earth sign, right? So that brings up comfort and belonging and home and family. And I don't know, I just find that part very um, interesting. And maybe even this moon being a call, an amplifying call to create harmony amidst all of the chaotic things that are going on, either in your personal
Totally.
life
Yeah.
or, in the world at large, you
Mm.
know? Because there's tension stirring in the surface, right? The trine would seem to say, oh, it's all ease and flow, but that yod pointed at Venus, an inner planet, says different, right? It says that there's tension,
Well,
right? We have to stay grounded in our
well,
values.
absolutely. And if you think about the Librian, relationship issues, and to me, the water, I always think emotion and big emotion. This is a trine, healing potential for sure, because it's
Mm,
all water. So maybe healing relationships to some degree. But then we also have to deal with the fact that this is in Taurus, which is, like you said, more practical and grounded. It's an earth sign. So we have that to contend with as well. And
yeah.
so resources, self-worth, maybe there are worthiness issues within relationships that causes friction. So there's plenty to think about and work with under this moon. It can be potentially quite healing.
Yeah. And interesting, because the dynamic of the base of the yod itself is with Uranus in Gemini and then with Saturn in Pisces, along with Neptune in Pisces. So we have a very spiritual component. Grounding in the spiritual seems to be a theme that is ongoing anyway, really grounding in the divine human. But I also wonder, and you might speak to this as well, if there isn't maybe a new mode of communication within our relationships that we are birthing. In other words, often we get to we get to attention, let's say, in our relationships with someone, and it blows up. And then all kinds of words spew, right? We say things that we drag things up from the past that happened. We, say things that we don't mean. What if there was a new way of communicating that was emotional, but responsive emotional, not reactive? And also, a new way, an establishment of a new way of interpersonal dynamics. What if that was possible?
Everything is possible, and amen to that if that's what's brewing and that's what it brings forth. I mean,
Yeah, I feel like this brings up authenticity,
mm,
right? Using your authentic voice, being your authentic self within your relationships. A lot of times in relationships, we do a lot of placating and playing nice and you know, giving away ourselves within the in the relationship to keep it peaceful and calm. That's admirable in the old way of being a human, but in
mm,
the new way perhaps of being a human, it's that we state ourselves authentically while at the same time allowing another person to also the other person in the relationship to be authentic as well. That's a new thing.
and a good thing.
Yeah, I think it represents a maturity in our relationships that's, just kind of dawning on us. And, I'm thinking personal relationships, but what about relationships between different factions within a government or between different nations and how we cooperate or coordinate as opposed to, turning backs upon each other or, stabbing each other in the back.
Well, now this would bring me to the minor grand trine that's active, and hopefully sort of as a foundation under everything that's going on. And for those of you who are watching who haven't grabbed that minor grand trine webinar that we did, it was killer. It was so powerful and so hopeful. If you need a little bit of hope, grab the minor grand trine webinar. It was so good.
Yeah, it won't be available until later this week. I have to edit out.
Grab it next week.
Yeah, grab it next week, and we'll be sure to let you know when it is available.
Yeah.
All right. So this full moon to me then speaks to a pattern I think that we've been unveiling over time anyway, because even though I didn't draw it in there, the minor grand trine is still activated. And that holds all of this potential for us to create more of a golden age, if you will, right? That where we get along, where we solve problems in a more enlightened way, where we are able to confront our differences, but without rancor, instead with acceptance that we're all different beings, seeing things from a different point of view. So I find the moon to be very helpful here.
Yes.
All right. What's next?
So much. How about the obvious one is on Friday the 7th, where we have Uranus stationing retrograde in the sign of Taurus, not Gemini. We're leaving Gemini and going into Taurus. And maybe
Right.
you're right. Maybe this is the whole. Janet and I have had a swarm of technological issues, and we were discussing that before the call today. And it's probably this stationing that's happening and creating trouble.
Some
But
havoc, yeah.
havoc
And
is the word.
he's completing a journey that began in 2018 of revolution in our values, all things Taurus, revolution perhaps in our money, banking, economy. We've seen a lot of upset with that, a lot of inflation and tariff talk and prices rising, and it's just been chaotic, right? And that continued even once he moved into Gemini.
Yep.
Now he's moving back into Taurus for a bit. And, maybe it's the closing act of this 7-year change in values and so forth that began in 2018.
Mhm.
But it's also been an era of reinventing stability. And what does that mean to us?
Oh, yeah, that's a nice way to think of it.
Yeah.
Reinvent stability. Ooh.
Yeah. And, part of that was shaking up our relationship with money, with
Mhm.
the economy, shaking up our relationship with the earth herself, the earth herself shaking apart in some respects, right? Our relationships with our bodies, right?
Mhm.
Taurus is a physical sign.
Yeah.
It represents, the the part of us that carries us through this lifetime, right? And then also what we truly value. So it's been an interesting thing, especially as we watch the structures that we once relied on falling apart,
Mhm.
right? Shifting, sometimes radically, and not recognizing even, until it's crashed and burned that something like that was happening. And this retrograde phase becomes our chance to integrate what's been awakened before Uranus makes the trip out of Taurus and into Gemini for the next 7 years. And in human design, Uranus is also retracing his steps. A couple
Oh.
of days before he retrogrades, he actually moves into the gate 8, which is a gate that is about contribution. What is it that we as individuals are here to contribute to the whole, to the tapestry? And that's like a big question, I think, for everybody who is, living through these times, is that we have to find something authentic for us to focus our voices on. Not just all the noise, right? The noise is noisy. The noise is, kind of crazy. So as we, move through this period of time in the retrograde, it's time for us to look at our values. We get this time where we can reestablish, what it is that we really value, what's authentic to us as individuals. And while Uranus and Taurus, has revolutionized our relationship to the material plane and to the physical world, to physical security and safety even, this final visit to the gate 8 and into Taurus really asks us to embody what we've learned, right? Not to just play lip service to those things, but to actually embody it, live it out loud, and to share then with others our insights, right? What have we learned? What new values do we want to live by, and how do we want to tangibly do that, right? How do we live it? So the message is clear, I think. Before we leap into Gemini's era of ideas and technology fully, and in a great big way, Uranus wants us to ground our genius into reality. You gotta take care of what's truly yours. before you innovate, right? You've got to be grounded first. That way you can express your originality in ways that stabilize and uplift, not just disrupt. I think we've seen a ton of disruption,
Yeah,
right?
valid. Very
Destabilization.
valid.
Yeah. So, and Uranus is always the wild card. So,
Right.
as much as I think I know how he's going to show up, who knows?
You can't know. You can't
We
know.
can't know. I mean, is the economy going to tank or is the economy going to prosper? We don't know because at this point, it's not clear what it is that we have as a value that we can take forward.
Interesting that on that same day, you just said something that made me think of it. Venus squares Pluto that day
Yes.
on the 7th. And so that's really interesting. Venus is the ruler of Taurus. And there again, you have that topic of money and relationships and values and resources. And I wonder, because it's sort of a powerful day, the day that it stations, right? And with Pluto addressing group change, group transformation, like that could set the tone really for some interesting dynamics. Really, right?
Again, it's kind of this energy of not knowing for sure. The square brings the tension to make something different, to do something different,
Right.
something to relieve the tension and the stress that we've been feeling financially and economically, but also in our stability. Everything is seemingly so disrupted.
Right.
So when I looked at Venus in this, she sits at the gate 50 during this period of time. So in human design, that's where we are moving from corruption to harmony via equilibrium. So
Ooh.
the potential is that we can establish a new normal. And that's what I think we should be reaching for is how do we establish that new normal, to correct the codes, to correct the things that were broken, to correct the mismanagement, to correct the inequalities in our economy. And I don't know how we do that in a moment, but Uranus will make sure that we do that
Yeah.
and set the stage for what comes next.
Wow. Good stuff. Now let's move on and go to Mercury stationing retrograde. We've already talked about this a little bit when we opened, but here we have Mercury going retrograde in Sag. Oh boy. And the note that I made, like in a snippet, is I wonder if we're rethinking the truth, rethinking what we believe to be true. As part of it, only as part of it. I mean, there's so many possibilities that what we're rethinking, recalibrating, plenty of options. But one of the main ones, just because I often think of Sag as a truth teller, that's what came to mind first for me. What's showing up though in the bigger way?
Yeah, I'm not sure that Sagittarius is the truth teller so much. I mean, he is, don't get me wrong, but he's also the truth seeker.
Yeah.
Right. This is a sign of the seeker, the quester, the hero on his journey to the truth and finding lots of things along the way, some that will stick, some that won't. And Mercury isn't entirely comfortable here in Sagittarius.
Right.
So he's, Sagittarius moves fast and speaks boldly, sometimes from opinion and not necessarily from truth, right in the beginning. And then he's reaching for meaning beyond the details because definitely Sagittarius sees the bigger picture. It's universal in its view. And when Mercury's in this sign, then conversations expand, but sometimes at the expense of precision or at the expense of the details. So when Mercury, is here, it's a placement that loves to declare, I know the truth, but doesn't necessarily know for sure that that is true. And might, feel inspired to get up on the soapbox and teach or share beliefs publicly. But clarity can really be blurred here when Mercury is retrograde because what is he doing? He's causing us to go slower.
So I want to validate what I said because that's exactly what I'm referring to. rethinking the truth. And I'm going to be honest, almost every Sag that I know, um, and that includes, I mean, I'm a Sag rising, so I get it. But I think most of the Sag that I meet or that I know are very fixed in their thinking. I find it very strange. It's really difficult to get a new idea in because they've decided the truth already. I don't really see them as seekers, although I do see them in their thinking. Um, they have high philosophies and theosophies, but I find it very difficult to get into the brain of a or the mindset of a Sag.
Well, they're lifelong learners,
Yep.
right? So they're always looking for the next truth. And once having found
Next
the
truth.
truth, they can sometimes land and just make that their truth,
Yes.
or they'll continue the seeking for the next level, right? Because it is such a higher thinking, higher philosophical kind of energy. And Mercury retrograde in this sign, at least initially, because he is going to retrograde back to Scorpio.
Right.
And that's going to urge you to take those ideas and those beliefs and look at them again through maybe a new
Deeper
lens.
lens.
Yeah, I was going to look for I have my magnifying glass somewhere sitting close to me, looking at the details in a new way, and then reconnecting with inspiration and integrity, which
Yes.
is another, kind of interesting word to throw out here. And then as he, backtracks into Scorpio, retracing the emotional and the psychological landscape that we've already been through,
Mhm.
right? Maybe it's where words gain new meaning,
Yeah.
or thoughts gain new traction,
Sure.
new depth to it. And I don't want to say Sagittarius is not really superficial. It isn't a superficial sign. So
No.
it's not like he takes an idea and runs with it without having any kind of clarity. It has its own clarity. Its own clarity is the key, right? Is it
It's
the
all
truth or is it its own, right?
right.
That's the thing with that. So Scorpio is going to ask us when it goes back, into that sign, what's really going on underneath the surface,
Right.
right? Can I really have the strength of conviction in this idea,
Yeah.
or in this ideal? And
So
especially finding that before you broadcast it to the world.
there you go. There you go. Let's just for some clarity for everybody. Mercury will retrograde in Sag on the 9th and will then retrograde in Scorpio on the 18th of November. So we're talking back and forth between the two signs. That's about 10 days in Sag. Then we'll go into Scorpio and it'll station direct on the 29th of November. So,
Right. And he'll station in Scorpio
yes, in Scorpio, I should have said
and
that.
then move forward again until sometime in December when we pass through the 6th degree of Sagittarius where he turned retrograde. So we have, a several week long cycle, which also will include Mercury's conjunction to the sun. That always happens during the retrograde. It's the beginning of the Mercury sun cycle. And that is, if the new moon, if you will, of the Mercury
Oh, there
sun
it is.
cycle.
Yeah, the 20th. Yeah.
Yeah. So that always gives us some kind of idea of what it is that's changing in our minds and what it is that's changing in the messaging.
Mm,
Because that conjunction to the sun is like this big bright spotlight on, what it is that we're learning, what it is that we are merging our minds with. And then it's like the new moon, right? It's full of possibility, but not yet set in terms of what direction it will move in, right? That's up to us as individuals. Where is it in your chart?
mhm,
Where is Scorpio Sagittarius in your personal chart?
mm,
I believe mine sits between the 5th and the 6th house, which would kind of seem like what creative ideas make it into the actual working realm, right?
right.
The 6th house of work. If you are a Sag rising, then for you, this is going from Sagittarius in the 1st house backward to the 12th house.
Right.
So, what new personality characteristics or ways of being are going to need to be reevaluated from the spiritual perspective before you try them on?
Right on.
Easy deal.
So
maybe.
look, we have about 15 minutes left, and we have a question from a listener, and it's relative to Jupiter's retrograde in Cancer happening on the 11th. So let me first tell you the question, and we can talk
Okay.
about Jupiter in Cancer retrograde. So the question is, I got to back up a smidgy here. It's from Kamal, who says, I would love to know about Jupiter retrograde in the 12th house.
Ooh. Well, Kamal, I always think, first of all, having Jupiter in the 12th house is speaking to this hidden wisdom that you hold, right? So you must have Cancer on your 12th house. So there's some hidden gems of nurturing ability, of being, I'm going to say, being a mothering figure, someone who cares deeply about others, that is lying in wait for you to gain enough wisdom to be able to express. And Jupiter, of course, moving through this then is waking you up to what's there in the depths. What is it that you need to nurture? What is it that wants to grow, that you are a part of the growth process of? Jupiter retrograde will give you the time to move through that, to maybe, even experience some change on the inner dimensions before you are able to express it again in the outer dimensions. So it's kind of a difficult place if you're not willing to go into the depths, if you're not willing to do the deep dive. Then this can be very exasperating for you, I think, as things will seem to have slowed down to a crawl. But it is your opportunity to take a more meditative, maybe journaling approach to, well, what is it what wisdom do I hold? And how do I want to be the vessel for that? Because deep within you, Kamal, there is a wise master waiting for you to wake up and share your insights, your gifts with the world.
I love that. That reminded me that the 2025 Energy Almanac, because Jupiter was in Cancer, the channel, the woman who was a channel for this book in particular, did every single article about wisdom, one wisdom article a month. It was really neat. And I think you were just sort of summing that all up right there. It was kind of cool.
I love it. And Jupiter stationing retrograde is in the gate 62 in our human design, which is a gate in quantum human design that we call preparation. It's one that sees to the details, right? That really causes us to prepare for our future, or prepare for compassion and empathy and nurturing and caring and growing and all of that. So it should be an interesting retrograde, I think, for everybody, as we're being asked to prepare to be our spiritual, wise selves.
I love it. Okay. There's another quick, I don't know if it's a comment or a question from JLo. 6th and 7th for me, and I have my North Node in Sag. I think she's referring to the Sag Scorpio we were talking about earlier.
Okay, yeah.
I have my North Node in Sag with Neptune, and my Neptune has an opposition to Venus. Woo.
Well, we can address this in many different levels, J-Lo, because the Neptune-Venus opposition means that you are really someone who is striving to reach to unconditional love, right? Mm-hmm. To universal love, to oneness and unity. Mm-hmm. But, Neptune is, able to see from that higher perspective, but Venus can get us caught up in, what's happening here on the planet itself. So that's something that you're aspiring to, is unconditional love, and a very spiritual connection. And the fact that this is happening from the 7th, it would say, I think is what you're saying, Mercury would be in Sagittarius in your 7th, moving backward to the 6th, you're perhaps seeing relationships in a new way, and then moving that back into the day-to-day routines in your life, or in the way that you create well-being. What does it mean to you right now to have healthy, healed relationships? I think that's what that Mercury would be bringing for you.
Nice.
Yeah, lots of different connections there for you to look at, especially having the North Node in Sagittarius. So you are one that is meant to see from a higher perspective, right, without getting encrusted in it as a closed-minded, narrow-minded, self-righteous belief, but as a bigger umbrella for all of the different beliefs that are out there, if that
Whew.
makes sense. It's a tough one, right? Not so
She's up
easy.
for it. She's up
Yeah.
for it. She says, I ask, why can't people just see? I love that. All right.
That's funny.
Boy, oh
What's
boy.
funny about that is the North Node now will be in the gate 63, which rules, I believe it is the left eye in the human body. From a human design perspective, that means, that we're seeing from a different part of the brain,
Yeah.
and trying to see the wonder and the awe, but also to see the details. It's a logical sign. It's a logical gate.
Right. Oh,
So
wow.
how do we blend logic and wonder and magic?
Oh.
The mystical and the magical with the practical and the down to earth. Oh, it's fun.
We've
All
got
right, so
10 minutes. We should move to the new moon, really. We've got about 10 minutes.
yeah, and the new moon to me was the big one for the
Yeah.
month.
Let's do that. Why don't you bring that chart up? Look at that.
Yeah,
That Scorpio stellium. Woo!
I mean, look at it. It's Venus, the black moon Lilith, the moon, the sun, and Mercury in retrograde at that time. And the new moon is, I cut off the top here, so I can't tell for sure. Well, I have the actual one here in front of me. It is on November 20th at 1:47 a.m. That will be Washington, D.C. time, so East Coast time, which means it'll be happening on the 19th for those of us on the West Coast, and at 6:47 a.m. for those of you, say, in the UTC time zone. So bridging, if you will, 2 different days based on your location. And this, I had a little bit of fun with this because, first of all, a Scorpio stellium is deep. There's just no way to explain, that in words other than this is really deep energy. And what is it that we have been, moving through in the depths as, we are moving through this time? And as well, because new moons are times where we're in the dark, right? This is the darkness of time. It is the tabula rasa where we can write the intention on our lives and aim for whatever it is that we're desiring. There's, in other words, the blocks that you might have to creating in your life are really self-made, right? At this point in time, there isn't anything standing in your way. And then the insights that, you can sort of achieve at this point in time are the blueprint, really, for at least the next month, if not maybe the next 3 months, given that the Sun Mercury conjunction happens during this time and Uranus sextiles Neptune, which, by the way, is the subject of our next Energy Almanac webinar. So we have a lot to say about this new moon. And I'm going to shut up and let you talk a minute. What does this mean to you?
No, you don't have to. I was just reading the notes about Pam Z. She says, add Neptune to the stellium, and that's my natal chart in Scorpio, balsamic moon. I was looking at the potential inside of this moon for amplified intuition, being in Scorpio. And interesting because Mercury's there, which is the lower mind, but really with the moon present and all of this, I'm just thinking the downloads that are potential for this day, and how this brings us into the next 30 days for, I don't know, just I think metamorphosis, like true change, like a great opportunity for metamorphosis.
And if you look at this, those 3 planets, the moon, the sun, and Mercury, they're all at the 28th degree.
I know.
So they're all on top of one another. And, sometimes the moon in this case gets lost in the glare of the sun. Mercury can get lost in the glare of the sun. This is called cazimi. But it is the energy for renewal and for creative power that, isn't being necessarily charged up. Well, is being charged up by the sun. And maybe it's like inspired expression, right? Being inspired to share. And then you've got the grand water trine as part of that kite. So that links us into that intuitive water that you were just talking about, the intuition. And it amplifies that intuition. right? It's larger than life. And then we have Uranus at the apex of the kite, the very top part up here. So, really, that's the breakthrough moment. That's the breakthrough, the liberation of your insight, of your intuition, like that click.
I was going to say, it's like a light bulb moment. To me, it's what I call the
Yeah,
big aha.
it is the big
Which will happen.
aha.
Yeah.
It is the big aha. And the Scorpio stellium, including that Mercury in retrograde in the Black Moon Lilith, even though she's not close enough to be considered in conjunction with that moon, really stirs hidden truths within us.
Ooh.
Maybe calling us to reclaim our voices and to create from authenticity, not fear. Remember, Scorpio energy does hold that paralysis of fear, what fear can do to us. So this moon can be a powerful turning point for everybody, where what's been gestating in the dark is ready to be shared, starting to see what comes out of that dark moment. So while this is a very busy moon, it is, I think, moving us more toward truth and authenticity.
I think we almost could have said the theme for fall is like exposing the truth, or to that effect, revealing truth. So
Revealing, exposing is good.
Yes.
Investigating, we're digging deep because that's a part of Scorpio energy. And the moon is in the gate 14. I'm going to check that because I'm not guaranteeing that that's the truth here. I just want to check.
Yeah, you didn't put it on the map.
The 20th, the sun is in gate 14, and the moon and Mercury are in gate 14. They're all sitting at this gate that we call in quantum human design creation.
Right. Perfectly timed.
Yeah. And what I think about the gate 14 is that it's also in the gene keys, its highest expression is bounteousness.
Beautiful.
Try that word on, because bounteousness, it speaks to abundance and flow.
Yeah, it does.
In the human design chart, it sits on the sacral center, which means it's an energy of doing. It's an energy of creating. It's an energy of being. In fact, it is the only gate in human design where we work for money, right? Only because money is what we get paid in typically, right? If we got paid in shells, we'd be working for shells. Right. So we work for money in the gate 14, but it has to be directional. It has to moves toward the gate 2, which is the gate of allowing. And it sits on the identity center, which speaks to your authentic self, right? We don't just go out and earn money in any old given way. We have to follow our passion. So in a way, our passion is driving underneath the surface here and wanting to be expressed in the creative energy of that gate 14 new moon.
It's good stuff. And Janet, we have like only a couple minutes left on this podcast, and I really think we'd be remiss not to mention that Saturn is stationing direct at the end of the month on the 27th.
Yes, he is stationing direct in Pisces, bringing form to the formless. I mean, that was his whole job for the 2.5, 3 years that he spent in the sign. And after months of retrograde, he is, as we call him, the planet of mastery, or the great teacher, the structure and form and responsibility. He stands still for a moment, kind of evaluating, what is it that I'm going to take with me as I move direct? And then when he moves forward again, he's dissolving those old boundaries. And he's the ones that we thought were real that turn out to not be so real, that they are movable boundaries, testing our faith in ourselves, in our work, in how we are together as human beings, asking us to discern what it is that we've been avoiding accountability for, right? Teaching us to be responsible, both in spiritual and emotional matters.
Reminding us to have spiritual discipline. I think that was a big message for that transit.
Discipline through devotion.
Discipline through devotion is even more beautiful. Yes.
We've kind of learned that consistency and faith are not opposites. They're actually allies. So to participate in a spiritual practice brings more joy and fulfillment and aha moments and intuitive hits, things like that. But also having boundaries with compassion. Healthy limits don't restrict our empathy. It is, ugh, I don't want to bring that up. Anyway, they protect it, right? What I was thinking, and I guess I could think this, is, we have this whole ICE issue with immigrants and things like that. And so the question then becomes, how do we protect our boundaries, our borders, let's call it, but doing so with compassion? That would be a huge lesson to take from this, rather than gathering them all up and putting them in jails and treating them like animals, if that's even happening, because I'm always on the skeptic side of that. And how is it that we bring that level of compassion to the things that we have to become responsible for, right? That's a huge one with Saturn and Pisces.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then I think in a way too, Saturn will be headed out of the gate 36, where he has been in a space of chaos and tension and turbulence. And he'll be moving back to the gate 25 of spirit and of unconditional love. And Neptune is already there and has been. And Saturn was there once upon a time too, until he retrograded backward into 36. So, we're awakening maybe with some more emotional maturity. How is it that we remain compassionate without losing discernment? How do we merge those two energies? And I guess we're being asked to close a chapter on avoiding those things that are tricky and facing them from a more spiritually evolved place, from a more loving, heart-centered space, but also maintaining that element of reality, what's real and what is, possible. And I guess that will be revealed to us over time as well. I guess the mantra we could have for this now would be something like this: bring your visions to ground. Bring them in to the ground. You got to build your next chapter on truth. And your soul has kind of been able to distill that truth over these last couple of years. It's time to live from those places of truth.
Oh gosh, and it brings me all the way back to that minor grand trine again. Honestly, that's where I just went in my head, like having that foundation of innovation, inspiration, and reformation. Like we are reforming, and it has to be an inspired,
compassionate way. Yeah.
Compassionate way.
And it's interesting because at one point of the minor grand trine is Neptune.
Yes.
And when Saturn joins Neptune in conjunction, then Saturn is also part of that minor grand trine, the architecture of awakening.
Right.
And humming right there beneath the surface, encouraging us to make these changes, but to do it in a way that brings in compassion and boundaries and limits that make sense. So it's a big job, and that's why it takes 3.5 some years for that to unfold for us.
We are building the new earth, right?
Yeah, building the new earth, but over time, with care and empathy and compassion, soul, heart.
Thought this time, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Woo.
Okay, everybody, please, if you liked this video, if you like the work that Tam and I do, please hit the thumbs up button if you are on YouTube, hit the like button if you are on Facebook watching this, and share it with your friends. Thank you, J-Lo, for that reminder. And thank you all for joining us this morning. And Tam, thank you for being here, my right hand over here. It's been wonderful.
Don't go yet, because I just want everybody to know we didn't talk about everything. We didn't even come close to talking about everything. Be sure to tune into Janet's weekly podcast on Monday mornings, because we didn't even come close. It's going to be a busy, busy Astro month. So stay tuned. Pick up your energy almanac. You got some information there. Janet does her podcast. And that's what we have for you this time around. We'll see you the last week of the month. I'll see you on the 27th on this podcast again.
Isn't that Thanksgiving?
Oh, whoops. Darn it.
Oh, no, Thanksgiving's on Thursday.
Right. Oh, so the 26th. We'll
The
see you the
26th. It'll be the 26th. We'll be here together and we'll be talking about December. I just can't even believe that we're talking
How did
the
that
end of the year.
happen? What the heck?
Time flies when you're having fun.
I know. Everybody
All right,
safe in
everybody.
Jamaica, and we will see you next time.
All right. Bye for now.